Welcome back to the Lanterne Rouge Cycling Podcast for Stage 5 of the Vuelta a España, a 24-kilometer TTT around Figueres. We are in the birthplace and final resting place of Salvador Dali. We begin at the Salvador Dali Museum with the eggs on top, and we have a theatrical performance today from some teams, from protests, from weather conditions, from technical parts of the course. We had the red jersey up for grabs. David Gaudu probably saying, please, Stefan Kung, please help me keep my red jersey. And yeah, this course is broken up into three parts. We have to T1, it's 24 Ks. T1, very, very fast, like nearly 60 kilometer an hour average. T1 to T2, the slowest part of the course with the most corners, and it's narrow roads. If you've ridden around the sort of Girona and Empordà region, it's pretty narrow roads with twisty corners. And then T2 to the finish is fast again, 57, 58 Ks an hour. And the winner eventually finishes nearly 57 kilometers an hour average. Do we have any pre-stage news, Benjamin?
Not that I'm aware of. I think most of the teams started with the exact expectations that we had. We kind of looked at this, and yesterday we did an analysis of the teams by looking how many big boys per team there were. That's kind of the analysis of the team time trial that we looked at, basically. So we saw Visma Bike, despite having a rider less, as a candidate still for the victory. UAE Team Emirates, who had a strong team, but not necessarily the history in team time trials of delivering the W's left and right. And then we look at Red Bull, Little Trek, also strong boys around, but also a few other teams where, okay, Jayco has the history of doing well in team time trials, but maybe not the riders this time around. So there were question marks about a few teams, question marks here and there, and there was no real obvious favorite, I would say, going into this team time trial, right?
I agree. I mean, UAE of yesteryear would have been the big favorites. They've got a lot of guys 68 to 75 kilos, who are also some track guys like Oliveira, some TT national championship champions in Almeida, Vine, Groschartner, and Ayuso's a good flat time trialist. He beat Pipo Ganna in a flat TT. But Visma, very, very good in this discipline, but missing a really big engine of a Fini or Van Aert or Hagenez. And then, like with Little Trek, they're missing just a soda fist. And then you have to carry a couple of smaller guys, or a Sturven, another big 75 kilo guy. So it was really open. Some teams, Movistar starting with 7 because Arcas was out. That's a big loss. I don't know mathematically how much an extra rider is forecast to make you go. But that's typically why TTTs are in early on in the race.
Depends on the rider. Because if you have a light climber that is not in the team, then it's probably better not to have him in your relay because he might slow you down. But if it's, let's say, a Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe doesn't start with a Dens or something, in this case they did, but if they hadn't, it would negatively impact their team time trial because that's one of the big guns to keep their relay going. So it really depends on which riders you're missing. And I do think, looking at the initial start list, the fact that a Valentin Paris-Pantre, a Zangler are the ones missing, they're not necessarily the names that I'm shouting, okay, they're the biggest losses for a team time trial, you know?
Zangler's not that good at individual time trials. TTTs, he's good.
Okay.
Because he can do like massive watts for 30 seconds on and off. But then again, it's also about if you make one mistake in a corner, if you're not the most proficient, smoothest, fast, if you make one mistake, you can slow your team down considerably. Or if you're just coming out of the line, or we saw today, if you change the wrong side and those behind you don't expect it, you can crash your whole team out or crash riders out. And that can happen in TTTs as well. We had rainy conditions in the morning. There was worries the course would be wet. I think if this course was wet, it would have been real trouble. Luckily, it dried out. Like here, it was raining all day. We just had storms. I just lost power. But down there, I think it stopped raining and the sun did hit the pavement to dry it out for all the riders. So I think today we can say conditions were pretty much the same for everybody. I didn't have a wind, well, except for some on-course conditions for some teams. But before we get to the action, especially in time trials, a lot of the peloton are using Morton bicarb. it's a non-negotiable now in time trial days to be using bicarb for the World Tour riders. And you've probably heard that bicarb can boost performance, but there are always downsides, stomach issues, cramps, and maybe some sketchy gut issues and timing where maybe you had to do a Dumoulin. But that's where Morton's bicarb system completely changed the game. Their hydrogel technology delivers the bicarb in a smarter way. You mix it together, then stir in the mini tablets of sodium bicarbonate, and the hydrogel carries them through your stomach and into your intestine, where the bicarb's actually absorbed with way fewer side effects or gastrointestinal distress. So this isn't something you take every day. It's designed for big efforts, TTs, sprints, hilly races, or when you just want to beat a KOM that you've been trying to get for the last few years. You take it about 60 to 90 minutes before go time, and then you can push harder for longer. So if you think it's too complicated, don't worry. The pack includes a digital planner to help guide you, and of course, it's Informed Sports certified, vegan friendly, and WADA approved. So check it out at morton.com. Get an edge for race day, or like me, for your weekend warrior day up your local climb. If you want to try it out, if you like pushing yourself to the limits, it really changed the game, and certainly would have been used today in this TTT. The first team that goes off, Lotto, put some respect on them.
Exactly. I was not expecting the time they put on the board, but the time they put on the board obviously is a first indication. We don't know if it's going to be a crazy time trial. We don't know if that first time is going to hold on the board for a while, but when I looked at the speed they were going for that time trial, nearly 56 kph throughout the entire time trial, then I was thinking, okay, can't be too terrible. But I was still expecting quite a few teams to go faster, and it weren't necessarily the first teams on the road. Jake Walula not really delivering a good time trial, I would say, by the end of this. I think they got like 16th or something, so that's not great for O'Connor GC if he was still going for that in the first place. But throughout the first half of this time trial, we're looking at other standout teams that might make it towards the final of this team time trial. And I would say the first big time on the board was Little Trek, where they were the first ones to beat Lotto, if I recall correctly. And yes, they weren't beating Lotto by a lot. Initially, the first time check, they had maybe a 15-second gap on Lotto, roughly from estimate from my head. But that actually became a smaller gap towards T2. But then towards the finish line, they were able to build that out again. And did we see any pattern, Patrick, in how many riders were left at a certain time? Because Little Trek, for example, were at 4 riders left at 2.7 kilometers to go. And some other teams had 6 riders left at the finish.
Well, Trek had Verona crash in one of the corners, and Trek were definitely pushing these corners. And I think you can clearly see a massive difference in their pacing. Through the slower section, Trek went 3 kph quicker than Visma, 2.5 kph quicker than them over that 10-minute section, going 24 seconds quicker than them. I mean, Lotto as well, and they've got actually some. I love repeating sort of old wives' tales that may or may not be true, but just saying that lead-up men and sprinters, like experienced sprinters, are really good in flat TTTs. Well, Lotto, it's kind of true. Like, they were the quickest in that technical section. They've got De Boist, they've got Viviani. Who else they got here? Segart. Hold on. And like half their, like Ian Levens didn't even take a pull. So they were really, really good in that section. They were first. So that was crazy. And their time, as you said, was really good. And then the two teams that did the 2 quickest times from T2 to the finish, they kept riders together. We saw UAE more. UAE then started doing death pulls. Jay Vine, bang, on and off, done.
Yeah.
Ivo Oliveira on, smashing it probably for a K, off, done. Like full like lead out stuff. And they finished with 4. Visma finished with 5. They start with 7, so they only dropped 2 riders, one of which was Sepp Kuss. The other was Dylan Van Baarle. They finish with Kelderman, who's not in GC, as one of the 5, and they finished second. So UAE spent 2 extra riders because they began with 1 extra. So that's the interesting differences. Ineos, I think, took it too far. They overpaced. Maybe I'll do the results.
We can go with the final results and we can go from there.
Yeah.
But I do want to add before we jump into it, I also think it's not just maybe sprinters riders, but also sprinters with a track history. As in, I think the likes of Viviani, for example, with a track history, I would trust more in a team time trial than, let me try and find a sprinter in my, than Sonny Colbrelli back in the day. Maybe not the perfect example, but...
Was he a track rider?
Colbrelli wasn't a track rider. Viviani was.
Yeah.
Won the Points World Champs 2 years ago, I think.
2 years ago?
I think so. 3 years ago? 2 years ago?
Viviani won this year.
Yeah, he won a race this year, correct?
Yeah. I agree. Like, track, that's why, who else is a good track rider? Ivo Oliveira.
No.
Isn't he Madison champ?
Him
and Yuri Leitao, didn't they win something? Or was it Rui?
I don't know if it's Rui or Ivo. I won't lie. I think it's Rui.
I think it's Rui and Yuri Leitao for Portugal. Don't come at us. I'll do the results. UAE win this team time trial, retaking their ascendancy in the flat CTs they had of last year by 8 seconds ahead of Team Visma, Lisa Bike, and they had then Little Trek, who were in the hot seat for a long, long time. They're on 9 seconds. They dropped 4. Verona also crashed, which probably maybe affected how quickly they were with 4. Red Bull, 12 seconds back. They finish with 6, despite Sobrero crashing.
Yeah.
I'm not a scientist. I'm not a scientist. I'm not an engineer. It can't be quicker.
To have someone crash? Of course not.
No, like to finish with 6 as opposed to 2 of the 6, and or with Kelderman, for example, doing in this fast section a full-on like death pool.
I agree with you. The question is, what limits are they at certain points in this team time trial as well, you know? Because you can say, okay, we want this one rider to do a death pool at that point. Is that one rider doing a death pool going to lead to another rider dropping? Then it becomes problematic to do that death pool. So it's these small things that maybe in race communication might have changed the plan to begin with. But I would agree that as a overall standard, normally you would say spending more riders above 4 preferably would allow for a faster time. But
so to
that
your
Sobrero
point,
crash was serious, to be honest.
Yeah, he smashed. So what happened was the rider in front, the camera was really cropped in, so you couldn't actually see exactly what was happening, but the rider in front looks like they're pulling off left. Sobrero starts to move through, his wheel overlaps, and then the rider moves right and then chops him basically. He goes down at 60, smashes into the ground. He takes a long time to get up. He finishes only 3 minutes 46 back, which, yeah, like pretty crazy. So yeah. he must have gunned it to the line still. But the point is, like, I see your point. What if, with UAE, what if Soler misses that last corner? Their whole time is fucked. Because then you have to wait 40 seconds for the 5th rider to come back. So if you're going for the stage win like Trek, and you want to risk it, I get it. And that's maybe why Visma kept 5 in case you miss another one. But yeah, Ineos would definitely... Oh, sorry. I've done it again. Ineos on 16 seconds. They were quickest at T1. And then progressively lost. Or they were second at T2, only a second behind Little Trek. But then they were 16th from T2 to the finish. T1 to the T2,
I'm not surprised.
Yeah, they dropped to 4 so fast.
6.6 kilometers to go. There were 4 riders left. In comparison to Little Trek, Little Trek had a rider for 4 kilometers longer than that to then go off the front. So they were down to 4 riders so quickly that it started negatively impacting them in the last third of this race. And that's where Ineos lost his team time trial.
And I think it's to do with Sheffield being a bit either sick or he's clearly not 100%. There's no way Sheff would drop in this TTT normally.
Yeah.
That early.
Or starting too fast?
Maybe they also started too fast for the team's capabilities with Langolotti and Rivera, but yeah, they were down to 4. Bernal looked like he finished with a decent amount in the tank. He looked pretty chill over the line. Movistar, really good TT for the riders they have. Again, Garcia Cortina, Canal, Explosive Hessman, good rouleurs. Castrillo, Aula, Cepeda, Romo are there. main guys. They finish on 17 seconds. Cepeda and Aular nearly crashed a couple of times, but still they were really good in the... Again, you see the differences. Movistar third in the technical section. Trek second in the technical section. And then Decathlon, 17 seconds. Q365 did an excellent TTT, only 22 seconds behind UAE. Groupama, 24 seconds. Lotto, 27. And that's mostly it. Tiberi, 31 seconds for Bahrain. And that's, yeah, for the GC teams, apart from, yeah, Jayco, that's about it. And then, yeah, for the pacing, yeah, the differences is clear. I just read out Lotto, Trek, and Movistar, how aggressive they were in that section. UAE, 14th in that section. 10 seconds slower than them. Visma, 19th. Almost the worst team in that section. Slower than Caja Rural in the technical section. And then quickest on the way back into the finish. 4 seconds quicker back on UAE. So at T1, it looked okay for Visma. Okay, yeah. Not spectacular. T2, everyone's like, shut down the franchise. They were 10th at T2, and you think, okay, is this progressively going to get worse? And then there was obviously a pacing plan to come back in the final third.
It does show that it might not just be a pacing plan, but also necessarily that the non-technical segment benefited this team better, and the technical segment benefited that team better. And with Visma, it seems like the technical segment of this team time trial was the least fitting based on the timing. That could be pacing. That could be other things.
Yeah, it could be you don't want to take risks there because you have the favorite. But it seems UAE, Visma, Red Bull really have the same plan in that section. But one of the big news of the day was Israel Premier Tech's time trial. It must have been it was in the first 8 minute first section, I think, to the first intermediate. They were stopped by a protest. People got on the road and unfurled a banner. The police in front of IPT rolled through. They'd almost broken it up. The riders still had to brake, but then they got back on the road. The riders had to pretty much put their foot down and stop, and then they continued again. I don't know how much time they lost.
Definitely 10-15 seconds, I reckon, if I had to estimate.
At least, yeah, probably. I mean, they were fourth from T2 to the finish, and I'm not surprised. Like Catalonia and in Spain, they're like the pro-Palestinian movement is very, like, compared to other countries, like pretty prominent. I mean, it's a prominent issue everywhere at the moment, but in Spain and Catalonia in particular, it's like it's very, very big social issue, and protests are common in Catalonia for a variety of reasons. Like it's just a common thing to protest. Farmer stuff, Francoism, and now this. So I'm not surprised it happened. Also, the service courses in this area, so maybe that's why.
And our sport also has the inherent reality that it's possible for in this sport to have a team named after a country or a team named after a region. In doing so, it's a great place for sports washing. And as a consequence, you're going to have people protest against countries doing things. That's the reality. And I've given my opinion on this whole topic on Twitter the other day. It was controversial. It was my opinion, and I stand by that opinion. But is there a world? It's impossible now. It's impossible now. We've gone way past it, Patrick. But would the world of cycling have been better off from the initial beginning if state sponsorships in general were not allowed? Or in this case with Israel is not technically sponsoring the team, but the team was funded to promote Israel.
That's the strange middle ground with the team, because it's not from a sovereign wealth fund of the country. It's not officially like in the same way that Bahrain Victoria's, UAE Team Emirates is. But on the other hand, I don't think if I became a billionaire, I don't think I'd be allowed to just start the Australian cycling team and call it that. And race as the Australian cycling team in World Tour, unless you get governmental approval or tacit approval or whatever. So the reality is it's called Israel Premier Tech. It's always been called that. And so, yeah, the fine differences between the legal arrangements between them and UAE and Bahrain and what other countries are there?
Belgium.
Yeah, Flanders Flanders
Belgium did some shit in the Congo back in the day. To be clear, we're laughing about the Flanders Balwaza shit, but I do think this is a serious topic.
Yeah.
And, like, I'm also of the opinion that the actions of Sylvan Adams in the past are also putting more of a bullseye on the team every now and then. He sent racist messages to pro-Palestinian activists in the past. And that is obviously going to inherently increase the potential danger that riders riding for the team are in while riding for the team.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, the interview he gave 2 years ago is pretty telling. Also, he spoke about sort of, how he expects the riders on his team to think as well. So it's not like, I don't know, I'm not surprised either. And I think this is unfortunately, fortunately in this case, nobody was hurt. Unfortunately, I think this is very, it's very likely this is going to happen again during this Vuelta. It's just, to me, it's almost inevitable. It's not a football stadium. We're going to do 180 Ks a day on open roads. And I'm really worried that it's going to both affect the IPT riders, but this was a TTT, so it was like they just targeted that team. But I've seen photos Mihai put on Twitter from the broadcast of like someone being stopped at the Flamme Rouge behind the Groupama FDJ team, and I'm thinking
with a grocery bag or something.
But there's no. I'm like, the Groupama FDJ kit looks identical to the Israel one. If you're just a random punter. It's dark navy blue. Are they just going at the Groupama team now? Who, let the boys have a flutter on the horses, and so now is this going to happen in road stages on a descent? How are the police? How can they secure the race every day?
You can't in the sport of cycling. That is the reality. But it's also, there's going to be people that are annoyed that we're talking about politics on a pro cycling podcast, but
it affected the result.
It affected the result, but also on top of that, a lot of us, including the people watching, watch the sport for entertainment, and sometimes entertainment of sports also is a form of escapism. Because at the end of the day, there are horrific things happening in this world. But the reality is, you can't separate sports and politics completely when politics is so ingrained in the sport itself.
Well, yeah, when it's affecting rider choices, the races itself, how many police motos are in the convoy. Luke just told me like IPT have double the police motos compared to other teams. And I agree with you. Like, we made a very conscious decision that also this podcast is supposed to be a form of escapism, and we just mostly talk about cycling and don't get too serious too often. I sort of took that from Pardon My Take, also because it's the quickest way to alienate half of your audience who are ultimately listening to you about, they want to learn about cycling and maybe escape a little bit from... Pardon?
Did they do that? Or did they not do that? Pardon my take.
They do not discuss politics.
Okay.
If you're a sports podcast in America in the lead up to the elections, it's not a very good idea to... you'll lose half your audience if you choose one way or another. But like Benji said, I mean, this is one of the hottest geopolitical issues in the world at the moment, and this is the most prominent Israeli team competing internationally that's accessible to the broader public, and now it's doing a 3-week race in a nation where the tide of public opinion is very much against them, and like whether or not they are technically representing the country or not, it's called Israel Premier Tech, and unfortunately very concerned that this is going to this is going to happen again. It can happen in a road stage. I'm sure the other riders are worried about it. And
question, I want you to put your lawyer hat on for a second. I'm talking to lawyer Patrick for a second. Is, for example, in the case of Derek G, we don't know if it's related to that at all, but is there a lawyer reasoning possible for Derek G to say, riding for this team increases the danger to me, and therefore I'm using that as a ploy to get out of the contract? Is that possible?
I mean, yeah, maybe, but if you got received death threats or something, or the political situation's changed, but the rumor also was that they were negotiating during the Tour de France. So what changed in 2 weeks, 3 weeks? Also, he signed his latest extension after the Giro 2023. So what changed since then? Now maybe a lot has changed. A lot has changed, and he's just not comfortable riding for them anymore. And I do believe he might sit. But I'm more worried that like today was nothing. Like some people with some banners, like that's nothing. Like, God forbid you have another 1972 like Munich.
I have no clue what you're talking about.
That was when I think the Black September group, I remember now, the Black September group, which were Palestinian militants, they killed 2 Israeli team members and took 9 hostage, who also killed them, I think. And also, so they killed 11 Israeli athletes at the Summer Olympics in Munich. So, like, you think this... I pray, but the security of the race, they gotta have a meeting or something tonight with the police. Like, I'm saying today was nothing. Okay, they lose. I don't know what you do about the time. Do you give Israel Premier Tech? Do you give them 25 seconds back? What do you do? What do you do for Riccitello? But okay, who really cares? Who gives a shit? But this was just some banners. What, like, you don't know what can happen. So they gotta secure the race, or I don't know what can you do. So that's the risk inherent in the sport, and it's really concerning because this is the first stage in Spain, and this already happened, and it could. I won't be surprised if there's more protests again. Anything else from this TT?
Trying to look at our notes right now to look at every single team, and we had the crash from Sobrero. We talk about Ineos, IPT, Movistar rider going off road. That's on my list as well, but at the end of the day, they finished 6th, which T1 to T2 was their fastest. They were in the same bracket as Little Trek and Lotto, being good at the technical segment. And I don't have much else to add at Movistar, to be honest. Don't necessarily have a GC rider anyway, to be honest. So what do we learn when it comes to GC here? Because
not much.
It's actually true.
like,
what is the outcome?
Not much. I mean, Vingegaard goes back into the red jersey. Look at the results. GC, Vingegaard goes back in the red jersey, 8 seconds ahead of 3 UAE boys, Ayuso, Almeida, Soler. Ciccone is in 5th now. He was probably thinking he was going into red when he saw T2. He's on 9 seconds. Gadu, 16 seconds with Jorgensen. Hindley, 20 seconds with Pellizzari. Bernal, 22 seconds. Jefferson Cepeda, 25 seconds with Goal. Pidcock, 30 seconds. Buitrago, 39 seconds. Oh, he might be their leader, not Tiberi. And that's about... Landa, 56. O'Connor, 52. Tullett, 47. Tiberi, 58. That's all I'll do. So the UAE guys, there's 3 of them breathing down Vingegaard's neck.
P2, P3, and P4. I use one Almeida on paper, the go-to GC leaders there, but Soler isn't just going to give up on his GC position either at some point. It's going to have to be the legs that give in, or the necessity of working for the other 2, I would say. But the fast proper mountain stage arrives in... wait a second. Is that tomorrow?
Yeah, we got a mountain stage tomorrow.
Exactly. To Paul in on next year home, buddy.
Exactly. It's coming up there. I can see the finish right there.
So I feel like overall, when it comes to this Grand Tour so far, Vingegaard was the favorite going in. Vingegaard is in red. Perfect position for him after this team time trial. UAE being so close. Great. But outside of that, who are we looking at the go-to people for the podium when in fact Ciccone was the one saying that he wasn't going to go for the podium? I agree with you on Hindley, but where is he right now? He's on 8th place on... Well, all the gaps in GC are so incredibly small that It doesn't matter because the mountains are going to define this.
That's why all the teams, all the engineers, all the staff, all the riders with the stress and the recons of this TTT, they're like, what? We did all that to have bonus second gaps. To have bonus second gaps between us all. Which is kind of cool that you do have a different stage and it's not so decisive. But in the end, the gaps weren't very big between the serious teams here. And Red Bull might have even gone quicker without the Sobrero crash. So tomorrow, again, so many guys are still within 1 minute, 1 minute 30 on GC that breakaway formation will be tricky. A lot to Paul. Yeah, you've not done the full profile?
I have not done the profile at all.
First climb out the gate, 11k is 4%. So, and it's like the first 6k's are about 6%. That's out of neutral. Then through Ripoll, we do, where are we? Yeah, pretty big roads. Then they do the Collado de Torces, which is 24k is 3.5%. Again, just a big ring. Yeah, easy, long climb, takes forever. Then a false flat downhill that's really, really fast from Alp to La Salle d'Urgell on the highway. Then false flat uphill on the highway when you turn right towards Andorra. Go through there, still big roads. The hardest section of climbing of the day is the Comella, which I think Nibali has the KOM, Benji. From the Vuelta.
It's not the last climb, so...
Yeah, and they'll be recovered, so they might whack it. 4k is 8%. You then take a left, descend down, pretty steep descent with some speed bumps on it. I hope it's not raining. Because in Andorra Classic, they actually self-neutralized down this descent because the Andorra guys were like, that live here were like, you got to be careful. There's like acorns and everything in that descent. Then they worked their way up to La Massana. It's categorized at 9k, 6.5%. There's it's heavier on the pedals for like 10k's before then. It's big ring to Erz, then they turn left. It's a little bit harder for like 6.5%. The hardest 2k's is after the village of Pal. It's like 8.5%, and then they go up, turn left at the roundabout towards the ski station of Pal, and then the last K's not hard. It's like 4%, 5%. It's just not hard. So
breakaway.
Yeah, I think so. Because
and before you say it, Jay Vine.
So many riders are going to be motivated for this stage because they live here, and if you're Trek. He crashed today. I was going to say Verona. Who's more likely to win, Verona or Ciccone from the GC group? After the crash, probably Ciccone.
I would say so as well, but in the end, you also have to take into consideration that for Ciccone to win, someone has to control the stage, and Little Trek won't do that when Jonas Vingegaard is in the red jersey and most likely going to win at the top of the climb.
Yeah.
I would expect, at least.
Who else we got?
And I don't think Visma will control, because I think they'll try to get rid of the red jersey to a breakaway rider.
Why did
Landa's too close, right?
Why did he stay in GC?
We said it on stage 2 or 3. Makes no sense.
I'm trying to see who's like lost random time for like a not their fault. And so I like Langalotti in the break. Oh, the Astana boys. Yeah, I'm looking at Astana here. Sergio Aguita 3 minutes. Conchi 3 minutes. Pools and Masnada 3 minutes. Astana, I mean, Wout Poels, he's Dutch as well. So Visma, why wouldn't they give Wout Poels 2 minutes in red? Yeah. Isn't that the perfect rider to take red?
Exactly. Or just, there's so many people available to potentially take red or go for the stage itself. I don't expect Visma to be willing to control the break unless there's someone that tries something that is actually a danger for GC, but I don't expect Ayuso or Almeida to jump in the breakaway. No. I don't expect Ciccone to jump in the breakaway. I don't expect Hindley to jump in the breakaway, even though he's done that before.
Yeah, I think the target's on his back. There's not enough GC contenders here, and so the list goes down. Actually, hey, Jai Hindley, we're aware of you right now.
Yeah.
O'Connor? It's a classic O'Connor.
Yeah, it is, but then he has to drop everyone with him, and I kind of feel like there's going to be 1 or 2 kilometers that might be better at the end of the day. Trying to look through GC, but
I think Bruno Armirel will be in the break. He'll make it win, and he'll get rolled. And I think that Wout Poels or Callum Scottson will win.
Have you lost faith in Mr. J Vine? He lost a bit too much time, you know?
Yeah, he's lost now so much time that I'm concerned he's not in top shape now.
That's also the fear I have myself. The other ones that I'm thinking of, does Ineos have anyone to go for it like that, or will they stay around Bernal? Is Kwiatkowski maybe going to have some freedom? I don't necessarily expect that 100%. So
Langolotti.
I'm going to stick to my guns. I'm going to stick to J Vine. He's definitely going to be willing to win there because he lives in Andorra, but that counts for all the peloton. So
yeah, we're going to go
and so forth. But
Archie Ryan.
Where's he in GC right now?
Nowhere. He's on 4 minutes, and Andorra Classic used this climb.
Yeah.
And he came 8th.
Wow. Getting 8th in the Andorra Motorbahn Classica is not exactly the greatest beacon of we're going to win a Vuelta stage.
Christian Rodriguez is also... Oh, Christian Rodriguez is a great guy to give the jersey to. As well, he's here. He came 2nd in that race. No, yeah. You know who could have won this from the break easily?
Matthew Brennan?
Tom Pidcock.
I agree with you. We've said this a billion times.
So that's the stage tomorrow. We're thinking this break. I don't know if there's full stage coverage or not on the telly, but we're thinking it might be our first real fight for the break. We were expecting it yesterday. Luke says no full coverage, so we'll just have to watch the live ticker and see who's getting in the breakaway. And but we're not GC gaps.
Yeah.
You think?
It's going to be some gaps. It's not as easy as stage 2.
Yeah, but if Almeida gets dropped or Ayuso gets dropped on this, you got bigger problems.
No, but then on a climb like this, we should see more gaps than having a 20-man up sprint on this climb. I'm more expecting them to be like 2 riders here sprinting it out and 1 rider there, and like more spread around 30 seconds instead of 1 group of 20. Like Alanda should maybe lose some time, stuff like that. Especially on purpose. You should have been in the break tomorrow.
Yeah. and then the stage afterwards is a good break stage for him. So yeah, we think break. I'm not convinced there will be so bigger gaps just because the finish is pretty soft. So then guys can come back like what happened in Catalunya with Ayuso and Roglic, even though they were ahead. So we'll see. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed the recap of the Stage 5 TT. Thanks to Morten, as always, partnering with the show, and we'll see you tomorrow. Ciao, ciao, ciao.